Hey there, welcome. Here we are. Gonna give the thing a whirl here. Sorry about all the delays. Trying to do a bunch of different things. Trying it on my own. Hopefully the audio is working. Trying to get some last minute things done. So I'm just gonna give it just a second to make sure that our settings are right and that people can hear. That everything's going well, and then I'm going to dive right into this thing because I've been waiting to do this for a while. Waiting to do it kind of on my own, do a little telestration thing. I've done it before with NorbCam, and now I'm looking to do it. Just do it my own way. I'll be doing it obviously sometimes with Norb and doing the things that he wants to see, but now I'm going to do it as a different way to kind of give you guys a chance to see things through the lens of a coach. And so I put in my description, if there's anything you want to know about me, you can just go to my website, coachforlife100.com. That way I don't have to come on the show and tell you my background or any of those things. We can just hop right into it. So that's exactly what I want to do. I just want to hop right into things, and I'm just checking to make sure that we can hear stuff and that people can hear me. So I think we're good to go. So with that, I'm going to dive right in. And what the 12 for 12s is each week I'm going to come on. At the latest, I'll come on is Tuesdays. I'd heard this week that there was going to be the all 22 was going to come out, which it did. It finally did late yesterday. So I did a couple things with that, but usually I'll come on Tuesdays. I will do it. And then sometimes on Sunday evenings, even after the Seahawks games, I'm going to try to do a couple of quick telestrations just for kind of that last quick fix thing with regards to the Seahawks. So, all right, here we go. We're just going to dive right into it. So with that, starting off with, I'm going to start with play number one, and I'm going to show you kind of the good, the bad, the ugly, even though you'll see a list on the side that it looks like more than 12 plays. Sometimes there's things that are connected, like 3 PATs or things like that. I won't always necessarily do quite on 12 at the get-go, but eventually I'll nail down to the 12. So the first one, and I'm just going to kind of go in a random order this time because it's obviously a tough loss last week, and I'll talk about a few things as we go throughout it philosophically in terms of what I think maybe coaches were thinking, what they might be working on, and how they're going to try to get better. So if you like just hardcore football, hardcore telestrations, that's what we're going to do. So enough talking by me. Let's just get into it. And then I will splice and edit this even tighter to have other people watch it down the road. And would love your reviews and your comments. I don't take anything personal. There's nothing you can tell me that's going to hurt my feelings. So just let me know what you want. So here we go. First play was good old King Henry doing his big run that happened. And basically what you're going to see here is as he starts off on the play, he's going to start off heading to his right. So as he starts to his right, it gives the look of a play that's going to be some sort of a power or a dive play that's heading to the right side. So what happens is these linebackers, they have to flow to their left. Just by him taking that simple hard step to the right, quarterback's taking that hard step backwards like he's going that direction. But here's the issue, and as I back it up to my pre-telestrated portion of the piece here, you have what's called force and secondary force. In your secondary, you have a couple of those things that take place. Secondary force is when your corners, their job is to keep everything inside. Now, does he do it? And when I talk about players here, I usually will not talk by name because it can be different players that are going in. I might be talking about teams other than the Seahawks. So I won't necessarily talk in terms of specific player names, but I'll talk by position. That way, if you're out there and you want to learn the game or learn coaching or what have you, it's easier that way. So the right corner, his job is secondary force, meaning he's supposed to come up and make sure the play stays inside of him, which he does. The problem is he shoots himself so far up the field. And what you're taught is shoot yourself to the line of scrimmage, square your feet, and then play laterally and force it back inside. Now, why do they call it secondary force? It's not because you are part of the secondary. It's because the initial force you really want to have take place from your linebacker, either an outside linebacker or an inside linebacker flowing from the inside, but he's usually a fill guy, Fill. So your force is, and in this position, Adams is playing linebacker because he's up on the line of scrimmage. And then another force guy comes from your safety position. So as you start to watch this play develop, the play starts to head off to the right. All the linemen are heading to the right. Linebackers heading to their left. Now, as Adams heads to the inside, I'm going to refer to him as the athlete or the visitor. Sometimes I'll call him the visitor, the V position, because that's often what we called it. If we had just a hybrid athlete, we just call him, hey, visitor. He's visiting out there. He's going to visit a lot of positions. But you get a great block by Julio Jones. So he pushes the force player to the inside. So now what you see taking place is kind of a counter look from the backfield. There's no counter taking place up front. There's no lineman pulling. All the linemen make it look like just the old zone block, read block to the right. But on the cutback with the counter look, this first force guy, he's out of the play. The first force guy, his job is to force it one way or direction or the other. Like just go after it, force it one way or the other. But you can see here at corner with Flowers, which I know people have been talking about him all week, he should be stopping right here and settling his feet. Now this visitor, Adams, he's done his job. He's forced it quickly. He's forced it one way or another, even though Jones gets a great block in here. But if he settles his feet right here and buys his safety time, that takes care of what's happened over here in what we call the wash. I mean, this guy's washed out. Everybody's getting washed out because they all thought the play was going that direction. So right now we're actually in pretty good position if Flowers had stayed back. The corner stays back. As you can see, our safety's playing back 15 yards, but instead he shoots himself way up the field, and it's no different than someone who's playing defensive end on bootlegs and those type of things. You just don't want your ends or your secondary force players shooting themselves 3 and 4 yards up the field. Well, line of scrimmage was a 40, and look where his last foot settles. He's literally 3 yards up the field. Now, that opens up a huge hole here. Can't make the tackle. You're just not in a position. We never want to see the numbers of the player from the side. So he puts him in a bad position. But then what you want to see take place here is really you need this angle to be outside because you have to replace the force player. If the secondary force player breaks down what his responsibility is supposed to be, that next force player now becomes a secondary force guy. He has to be a secondary force guy because he's not filling it. If he was filling it, it'd be all the way back to where it was back here, where this outside corner secondary force, if he was playing tighter, he'd be more of a fill. But if you hear fill, F-I-L-L, that's someone coming from the backside. He's filling the hole, or you have a backside leverage. So secondary force, fill, and backside leverage. Those are your 4 key points on defense. And then you have pursuit over the top from the backside corner. But as this play continues to go on, what's going to happen is, let me get it cleared out. As you can see right here, we get a really poor angle from our safety. Now, here's where the play could have made a difference. And this is where I think they're going to shore this up because our safety, we know that Dick's a heck of an athlete, man. I mean, we got some awesome athletes back there. If he changes this angle, now what I want you to see is these 3 guys right back here, because now they become the backside fill guys or the backside leverage guys. If this force player, who was supposed to now become a secondary force guy, forces Henry back in, make him cut back. It's the old little league syndrome where you see the little league guys at safety and corner come up and the running back goes down the sideline and the little corner gets juked inside and then he runs down the sideline. All right, same thing here. Outside leverage. You got to get outside of that. Force him to the inside. You got 40,000 people, 30,000 at Lumen Field, 30,000 people on that side that can't help you tackle. Look how many people are back on the inside if he forces Henry to cut back. And we all know, if you watch football, Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs right now. He can be an all-time great guy if he continues at the rate he's going. But his 0 to 40 yard speed is not that great in terms of his get up and go. Now, once he hits top end speed at 40 yards, man, lights out. You're done. You're not going to get him, and you definitely don't want his ferocious stiff arm. But when he gets to this spot right here, I mean, look what we have coming there on the backside, which would have been great to have. If we could have had this wall right here, these 3 dudes, the way they're pursuing on the backside here, if all of a sudden we get a cutback, we'd have been in great shape. But instead, we don't get that. We don't get what we needed. And now we get in a position where Henry doesn't make a cutback, and now we're just in trouble. And you can see right there, he goes around the side. Now, let me tell you what I love about this, though. I take it back one last time. I love backside pursuit hustle. So if I'm a coach, if I'm the defensive coordinator in here, I'm watching this going, look, we had a massive breakdown at the corner position. Get that right, or we're gonna replace you. But get it right. Okay, we're not gonna replace you right away. We're not gonna fire you like the fans are saying. Like, you got to give a guy a chance because he's played in some big games, but he's got to start proving himself. You can't miss yourself in open space like that. You're too important. Got to get this one right here. But look at the hustle on the backside. Okay, great pursuit angle. Now his angle should be pursuit over the top to the 1 yard line. His angle should be to the 1 yard line. To the 1 yard line. You're always, once you get level or behind the player, your angle must be at the 1 yard line until you get 5 to 10 yards ahead, and then you re-leverage out. Well, what I love here is, again, look at the backside. This guy's caught up in the wash all the way at the line of scrimmage right here. He's at the 39-yard line. Spins out of it. Hustle, hustle, hustle. I'm going to let it play all the way through. Now, if his angle would have been at the 1-yard line, now he probably doesn't get him. But what if his angle had started out at the 1-yard line? After he just got tapped, slowed down, maybe we get him at the 5-yard line. And look what happened last year with Metcalf, or 2 years ago. When Metcalf last year makes that great play, 2 years ago makes the great play against Arizona, and then we end up stopping him down there, right? So you never know. So those are the type of things that we have to have take place. All right, let's go to the next one. Just a quick view of it from behind. I didn't telestrate this one, but I just wanted you to be able to see it, because I think if there's a way to coach or a way to watch film, the best way to do it is always going to be from the end zone angle. So any of you that coach youth football, high school football, what have you, always try to get someone to film from the end zone view. Even last week, I went to a youth football game. A buddy of mine and I stood the whole time in the end zone filming for him, so he could see his players, what they're doing there. It just helps big time. So here it is, just to play from the end zone view. You can see how that flow goes. Adams forces the play, even though he gets blocked hard down inside. But you want to see, I mean, I like the backside hustle there. If we'd have just taken it to the right spot at 1-yard line, again, poor angle, we get that. But what I like is that the fact that the backside guys are still hustling. Adams isn't going to get there, but if you're in position to be able to get there like those other 3 dudes, taking the right angles is close. And 56, if he'd have taken the angle to the 1-yard line, I actually think he gets him. So that's a pretty good learning point right there on that one. All right, let's look at something good, something fun. Now, what I really love about this is we know that Russell Wilson throws some of the best. I call them blimp throws. You hear them called dimes, all those different things, but dimes are kind of more that hard line drive shot, man. He's throwing a dime in there, just like with basketball, giving a dime assist and those type of things. So let's just watch the play once through so you can see it. So here it is. It's a quasi bootleg action, but all the players are heading over to the left side. So it's a really different concept that you don't see a lot in the West Coast offense. And when I say bootleg, basically what I'm talking about is, any play where your play action is going one direction, which it is. The play looks like it's going to the left. Russell then boots out to the right side. And what you'll notice is that they are bringing over a slot or a tight end type position player to block. So it makes it look like that maybe it's that positive play that we have all the time where we send our slot or our H back, or some players in the West Coast, they call them the U, because the tight end's often the Y. So this is the Y. Can be the U. It can be an H, X, and Z, unless they're on and off the line, depending there. And we'll get through that as we go throughout the season. So you can see he comes across. So this is a way to freeze the linebackers or to freeze the safety by sending a receiver type across from behind the line of scrimmage. But basically what he's doing is he's sitting there to block. But it definitely drew this guy in. So we drew this guy in. This guy was drawn in. He's got to stay home. So just this, it's not emotion, it's post-play action. Took these 3 guys. Lockett's going down here, and he's going to head to the outside. Then you're getting a little curl here. It's just different action to have a quarterback bootleg one direction, but to have your key routes on the backside. And what you're hoping is that the backside flow with the defense goes so hard that either this curl is going to open up or the backside corner is going to open up. Now, at this point, he's, Metcalf's covered. So this is the proper throw to take. I mean, it's not a high risk. It's a tough throw to make, but if they get it, okay, it's as good as a punt because it's deep down the field. But man, oh man, that is just a great throw. It drops it in right over the top. Those are what I call extra credit passes. So he gets the EC, he gets the extra credit pass on that one, man, because he just drops those things in there like no quarterback I've seen. I mean, it is very, very impressive. I'd say if there's one pass that I would take Russell, if you could take little bits of every quarterback, the pass that I would take Russell on is his deep pass. As strong as he is, he throws the deep ball, I think, better than anybody in the league, because the way he drops that thing down there. The other thing is you have to have a guy like a Lockett who focuses so hard on that ball dropping in there that he's making the old Willie Mays, Ken Griffey Jr., those type of catches where it comes over the top, and to watch it in, even though I'm a big circle of opportunity guy, there are the rare occasions where you do have to let it drop into the breadbasket like that, and then you focus on the back tip of the football. So, man, just an awesome job there. And this is one of those where, nobody's going to say, hey, great job by the offensive line, right? And with regards to the offensive line, if you start watching me do these breakdowns, or if you're talking to other people, I want you to really try to stop using the phrase offensive line as a whole when you're talking about mistakes or good play, just like with wide receivers, if wide receiver does something great in a game, you usually don't say the whole group of wide receivers, or if they do something, one does something bad, the wide receivers really blew it. You say a name or you say a position, right? Well, on offensive line, if you want to really enjoy this game, and anybody who's telestrating out there will tell you this, and there's a lot of really good dudes out there that are telestrating and do some really fun stuff to watch. Like I love watching other guys that are telestrating around the country. They'll do the same thing. They're not talking about offensive linemen. They'll say, hey, the left guard, the right guard, the left tackle, the right tackle, the center. And when you can really learn to watch the game from that standpoint, you're going to enjoy it that much more. You'll evolve as a coach, as a fan, what have you. But this phrase that we love to say of the O-line lost the game, or the O-line's letting Russ get set. That's not the case. It's usually one position might be having a bad game. And that position, though, is obviously crucial and it's important. Just like if one wide receiver gets multiple penalties in the game. Well, you wouldn't blame the whole wide receiver crew, right? So just one way I want you to kind of educate yourself and learn how to communicate a little bit better so that we as 12s can continue to evolve and be the best and most knowledgeable fans in the North, in the country, which people say out there that we are. And I truly believe that we are. So that takes me back to this play here. If you just watch the offensive linemen, it's really, really nice to see, on these type of plays, how they get a nice push. They get a nice push. They're driving them sideways. Excellent pocket protection. So when we talk about, the O-line this, the O-line that, hey, Russ threw it over 30 times. Most of the time, he wasn't pressured. He wasn't touched. And you see a really nice protection scheme that's taking place. And a lot of it's because they finally had a chance to work together and to practice together. So you can see right there, it's just nice protection. They got the push off. Now, Tennessee is doing something different too. And this is what's fun about Tennessee, who I picked to go to the Super Bowl. They play a lot of different defenses because of, they have to play the Ravens. So they have so many different scouting reports on quarterbacks that can move because they have to play a very, very good quarterback in their division. So as you can see right here, when it looks like they're rushing 4, look what eventually happens. 4, and then boom, 1 drops out quick into kind of a looping zone, and they're dropping guys back here. It's just still one heck of a pass that Russ is making. Just right over the top, drops right in there. Good stuff. Good stuff there. All right, so now here's one that it's kind of interesting, and there's a reason why I've pulled some of these plays. Obviously, on this one right here, what you're going to see, and what I hear quite a bit, is people talking about how, there was missed coverage in the back. That's why Lockett got so open. Okay, well, that coverage right there was pretty solid. Now, I know people are talking about the touchdowns. One of them, yes, but on this touchdown, no. Definitely not broken coverage, as they would say. So let's just watch as we see this, and I'm going to give it to you full screen on this one. All right, so what you get here is you get what I would consider to be more of a max protection look, because, again, our U receiver, so we've got 4 receivers set, but this receiver out here who's playing the tight slot, or at times you can call him you can call him an H, call him a U. There's different things you can call him. He's going to stay in and protect. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the 6th guy that's going to sit in there and protect for us, which is great. And then running back gets the play action. So we got pretty good flow here. Russ has his nice time on the outside. They run a delayed blitz. And what I love about this is the fact that Russ hops back inside. The tendency has been for him, and I think this has a lot to do with Shane Waldron. I'll guarantee you the push for him has been, I want you to start doing what other quarterbacks who have scrambled early in their career do later in their career when they want to stay at the high level. They stop trying to scramble to the outside. They learn to move back inside of the pocket, and that's what he does. Allows him to set up. Now, you can see the coverage right here. I mean, he's definitely got to deal with the press up front. Makes the move, gets to the inside because he knows he's going to end his position or end his route across the field. This safety, because he does the old Steve Largent move, which I love. Largent was phenomenal at turning his head one direction before he would go the other. And then the next play that he was running the same route, he wouldn't turn his head. So you get 2 ways of running the route. Well, right here, look at Lockett. His head is actually turned to the right. So his head's turned to the right because you can tell you can see the back of his jersey. His whole body's turned that way. So he gets this safety going over the top, and then boom, he hard cuts this way. Immediately, he gets 3 yards of separation in less than half a second. This safety back here has to do what we call a quick turn. If you're a young kid that wants to play safety, you don't reverse pivot, some coaches will tell you, well, keep your belly button towards the player or don't never lose sight of the player. No. You do what's called a quick turn. So this guy does a great job of snapping his head around the opposite direction. You can find him, but look at the great separation. Russ sees him right away. He could have had Metcalf on the easy spot, but I think he realized, hey, we're getting it early. So this one, I like this. This is part of West Coast offense. Even though you want to dink and dunk and do those things, when it's there, you take it. So Metcalf was there, but so is Lockett. That is not broken coverage. So if anybody's telling you, well, hey, we got lucky, Lockett's getting lucky. No, there's a reason why he's second in the league in yards and second in touchdowns. And it's based on this type of stuff right there. Now, then he makes a great move. And what I love about Lockett is the fact that he even talked about it this week. That let me come back here and stop on this. He talked about this week how he does not like being in front of the cameras. He doesn't like doing, a bunch of the extra stuff, which I think speaks to some of the stuff we've been talking about the last couple of years where we haven't seen Russ and Tyler, in the offseason throwing the ball, right? You see Russ during the summertime down south throwing with, DK and a lot of the other dudes. And that's awesome. It's awesome that he's getting his time with that. But I think it's awesome also that Tyler likes to just get away. He just wants to do his own thing, work on his own stuff. Maybe he doesn't want to be out there and be seen. Like he likes being the undershadow. He likes being the guy that, people don't really know about. To me, that's fantastic. It's great to have a guy like DK, who's a kind of an out there, a stud that can make things happen. But I think it's also awesome when you have a guy like Tyler who just says, hey, look, I don't want people to be calling me out, recognizing me, going after me, doing that type of stuff. So that's why he doesn't get rattled. And that's why I don't think people, want to double team or what have you. And he's the beneficiary of early season targeting on DK. All the press has been on DK and his speed and, his upside potential. So I think that's why teams are bracketing him or doubling him or doing star coverage on him, things I'll talk about later. But just know that some of the verbiage I use it because I don't think the 12s are a football 101 group. So if you're not a 12, I'll be doing some football 101 stuff, but I think for the 12s, we're all higher end. So I try not to talk to 12s like it's football 101. I think this is more the graduate level course. I just have to become better at teaching this stuff online to you guys because it's a lot different than doing it on a whiteboard or the old 1984 chalkboard that I pull out for the old Chalk for Life stuff. So let's go back to here with Russ. So now this is a play down inside the when they were getting inside the 20-yard line. Now we're in red zone. Here's the thing. It was 3rd and 4. Okay, 3rd and 4. And here's what I just talked about on the last play, right? You get back there, something happens. And what I don't want to see our quarterback do, and this is just me, it's my opinion. I'm not an expert. I just, happened to coach for a long time and had some awesome years and had some fun times. And I think I learned a lot from a lot of great people and attended a boatload of clinics and talked to people personally from all the way back to the Bill Walsh era and Holmgren and, Don James and all these people to Peterson and everybody else. So it's a lot of fun to bring that knowledge in and share it with you guys. But it doesn't make me right. I'm just sharing thoughts and my opinions, but I'm not in the meetings. So with that, now you get a play where Russ is going to drop back, gets the right. They've made the protection call. So our running back goes to the right side to protect. But here's what I want you to notice on the play. Notice where the 3 wide receivers are going. You have basically what we call a mesh look. And mesh is anytime you have 2 wide receivers, they're going to crisscross. Last week, there's a couple times we ran it, and you could tell their timing wasn't right and their depth. It's not the timing has to be there, but timing is a measurement of depth. So you usually want one guy at 4 yards, the other guy at 6 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards. You want that 2-yard gap. Reason being is in practice, you actually run by and you high five each other a couple times in the early part, even at the NFL level. They run by and they make sure, hey, you got left hand up, you got right hand up, and we always crisscross this way. That way you get the mesh timing down. The reason why you run that mesh is you're trying to get those linebackers to pay attention to that so you can loop someone through on the backside, someone back here. So you can see right here, we got 2 guys running it. And I love that DK is running the mesh. People are freaking out that he's not going deep. Man, I love that DK is the guy that's running the mesh stuff. So here we got mesh. Problem is you got mesh concept here. Lockett's the hook or the button hook spot. Okay. The other slot receiver is going across the field. So as you can see it, the way it developed. Okay, there's the mesh point right there at the 12-yard line right here. Okay, lock it here. And then you have a clear out, which is what you're always going to have. You're going to have somewhere. He's either going to be out here going streak. In here, they were in a tight look with the trips, the tight trips. So regular trips would be kind of space, space, space. Wide trips is when they're kind of a bunch look out here. This is tight trips or trips bunch. Those are the two common terminology. So you got mesh with these two. Lockett runs the hook. Receiver runs kind of a square, but he's clearing out is essentially what he's doing. But here's the issue. Man, wide open. Not sure why exactly Russ is choosing to bail out of there. Like, what is he feeling? This is my concern. Like, this is when people talk about, hey, Russ is the greatest quarterback. And I agree, man. If final minute of a game, I want Russ more than anybody. But for the whole game, on all of the big games we played, like, this is the one thing that I just wish he could just get a little bit better at. I mean, he's a stud. He's going to be an all-timer. He's a Hall of Famer. So all the stuff I say about Russ comes with that caveat. But I want us to win a Super Bowl. I want him to win another Super Bowl. I want the legacy for Pete Carroll to be the 2-time Super Bowl champion and more. So why back here on a quick hitter and mesh out of shotgun is usually 3-step throw. 1, 2, 3, and right there he should be setting and throwing, but he feels a ghost. He feels a ghost coming. So instead of hitting right here, I mean, holy cow! If he just put it right in his, not to say right in his face mask like Monday Night Football from years ago, DK, but he's got him wide open, and then probably could have drilled this in. Now here's the last piece I want to say on this. Let me show the play. He releases out, no running back there, maybe a chance to complete that. But most people say, and they know that, what do you not want your quarterback doing when they're throwing on the run? No problem throwing it on the run. You don't want them running sideways when they're throwing it, though. You want your quarterback to at least start to arc turn forward. The ideal throw is the throw that the quarterback throws it, and then his goal is to try to lead block for the guy he throw it to. Which is, I had a player who did that once, a quarterback that actually threw it, and then he ended up lead blocking for the receiver that caught the ball. That's your goal. Now, the other thing is, if you guys are going to catch it, he's there for the next huddle or those type of things. Now, I get that it's deeper down the field. He's never going to lead block for him. But number one, when Russ is throwing, he's running sideways to the point he's almost running backwards. I get it. There's a guy in his face. Then throw it out of bounds. Like, these are the things that we get into trouble with, especially with a defense like Tennessee that could be tough, or some other defenses we're going to be facing. You throw this back angle throw where it's literally crossing your body. There is some high risk there of that ball getting intercepted. But here's where I think it starts, where I would just like to see him fix it. Okay, right here at the scramble point, and I asked some people on a group call the other day before I showed them the play, which way do you want to scramble if you're the quarterback and you're playing in college, NFL, high school, or what have you? Well, you always want to scramble to your left. If you can't sense anything and you just want to get out of there, unless you feel something coming to the left, you want to always scramble to the left. Now, I know people are going to say, well, he's a right-handed quarterback. Doesn't matter. Right-handed quarterbacks actually throw better going to their left because they will turn their body more. You have to turn your upper body more to throw the football. So that should make sense, right? Because if I'm a left-handed quarterback and I'm running to my left, I'm going to be running this direction. And when I throw it, I'm never going to get the full torque. As a left-handed quarterback going to my right, I'm running. Now I have to twist. So as a right-handed quarterback, if Russ is going to his left, he's going to get much better aim because of the torque. But the bigger reason that, and a few of these guys even said as such, is that your left tackle's over there. Now, regardless who's playing in the game, your left tackle is usually your best tackle. You're going to put of the two, you're going to put your best one there. So when you don't feel something, your first instinct should be to go to the left, because that left tackle has a better chance of maintaining their block than the right tackle does. Case in point, right here. You tell me which direction he could have gone. If he's going to escape, he ends up escaping to the upfield guy who's a good 3 yards up the field, when if he had started moving to his left, maybe he does one of his little juke moves or his juke spins, but you have a much better chance of making something happen. And it's to the direction that two of your receivers are going. Well, you start to understand why a guy gets frustrated, right? For all the stuff that DK's doing and those things, I thought he handled his press conference well and that type of stuff. Now, before I go to the next couple of plays, let me say this. Let me tell you something about Russ. If you heard it on the show on his when we were watching the game, they talked about Trevor Moawad passing away, his leadership coach, some of those other things. I knew who Trevor Moawad was. I had a chance to talk with him a few times. I mean, one of the coolest, neatest dudes around. One of my closest friends actually works for him. He's a guy that also works for Russ. I'm part of his leadership, unlimited stuff, those type of things. But Trevor Moawad, man, I mean, I don't think people realize just how tight Russell was to him and what the guy really meant. So even though you might see Russ, showing the good face, Friday doing stuff, going out, doing the things with Sarah, all those type of things, man, to lose someone that close, I get that it's a movie, but it's like Rocky losing Mickey, right? Because I don't know you out there in YouTube land. Think of that type of emotion when you saw Rocky and Rocky 3 losing Mickey, like that drastic emotion that takes place. But now it's real life. So you got a guy who's got to play. He's probably thinking, man, I want to play for him. I'll guarantee him. He's got a lot going on in his mind. Now, I don't know the exact day that Trevor passed away. I've been trying to reach out to my other friend who's been gone for the last few days. But man, to know that he was going through that, to lose your biggest mentor, the guy who's been guiding you, leading you, taking your mind to another level, all those type of things. I gotta believe that this is probably one of the toughest weeks that Russ has had as a quarterback. So I always play those things into play when I'm, as a longtime head coach. Anytime a player was going through something, I had to bring them in and talk about stuff. You knew they're carrying that into the game. I just don't think that a player that you can tell a player, hey, when you step onto the field, leave that stuff behind you. We're human beings, man. You just can't do that. So very, very tough. So, he'll get those things. And that's the beauty of film, right? We're getting to know this Shane Waldron offense and those things. So we're going to get it right. I'm not worried about that. All right. Couple more. Here's an educational one. And again, a lot of what I'm showing you here is not based on, what I think, necessarily the Seahawks have had to do to win the game. Right now, I'm just giving you some educational things. I want to get a quarter of the way through the season to really get a sense of what Shane Waldron's trying to establish. So I am showing you some things I think that they have to fix and impact. It's not necessarily things that totally have an outcome on the game. You give me till week 4 or 5, then my 12 for 12s will definitely be 12 plays that dictated, I think the game. Because in every game, the old adage is in the first 3 quarters, you're going to have 5 plays that are going to have the butterfly effect. 5 plays in the first 3 quarters that are going to be so big or of such magnitude that they're going to have a butterfly effect on the outcome of the game. So it's kind of like in life, right? You take one step here, one step there, it's going to change your outcome in life. That said, when you have, 5 major things up to the age of 21 that take place, those are the big things that are going to have a butterfly effect in your life. And if you don't know what the butterfly effect is, Google it. You can do a Google on it. So you're going to be like, why are you showing a quarterback sneak? I'll show you why. Because to me, it's the most underutilized play in all of football, just as the tight end is the most underrated position in all of football. And I love the fact that there's some stud tight ends that are making things happen out there right now. So here's what you get. Okay. A quarterback sneak. I'll guarantee you, I'm probably the only guy in America that's telestrating a quarterback sneak. And I love it, man. I love it. So this is what you're going to get. And I'm probably the only guy that gets amped up when I'm doing these things. Like I said, there's a lot of guys that are doing the telestrating. I love them. They do a great job. So I'm never going to downplay anything that anybody else is doing. But if you want some energy, enthusiasm, and excitement, man, the 3 E's start right here. All right. So what is the big deal with a quarterback sneak? Well, let me show you the play. Okay. Boom. This is a play that went over 7 minutes on their drive. Now, they didn't get anything out of it. I think it was a 5 minute. It was a 10-play, 5-minute drive roughly. But he could be checking. He could be dummy checking on this. You don't know. But he's making it look like something. We've got what you're going to call. Let me get into the brightness here. Okay, 2 educational pieces for you. Anytime you have somebody playing over the center, that is called an odd front. Okay, so when you have somebody who's playing over the center, that is an odd front. Why is that important? Because a lot of people think an odd front is just having 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. It's not. You can have 3 guys on the line of scrimmage, 4 guys on the line of scrimmage, 5 guys on. It doesn't matter how many you have on the line of scrimmage. Odd and even fronts are based on, is there someone on the opponent on the center, covering the center up? Well, there is, essentially. I'm not going to get into techniques like 1 and 3 and 5 techniques and those type of things. For right now, I'm just going to keep it pretty simple. But you have a guy, so we're playing an odd front. So they probably called quarterback sneak in the huddle, and all of a sudden they come up, and now we've got this kind of odd front look. And even front would mean, guys are over the offensive guards, but we're not covering it right there. So what do you have? You end up with a play where the quarterback, Tannehill, and I don't care that I think Russ should do it because he's smaller. I know they think that you should be tall. It only matters when you're tall is that you're going to put the ball over the top. I loved running quarterback sneak the times when I played quarterback, back in high school, even though I knew I was going to end up at the bottom of a 1,000-pound pile. Watch what happens here. Nobody watching this play, because they very rarely, this is a touchdown, show replays from behind on, from the end zone view of a quarterback sneak. But welcome to the world of what a quarterback sneak actually looks like. Look where the quarterback went on this. Okay, it's awesome. He went exactly where he needs to go, and he probably checked to it, but his right foot goes back, and so I could tell right away when I was watching from the side before the all 22 came out, because his right foot went right there. You could tell on watching it live, his right foot went back so hard, and his hips turned. I knew he'd gone over the right guard. Now, once he ended, you could everybody could kind of tell at that point, yes, he's going. But as a coach, you're hoping that your team slanted there, which is kind of where we were, but then they're able to get a very, very solid, get off with the center and the right guard, because center sneak is not about just going straight ahead, like, hey, just get the snap, go straight ahead. No, you pick a hole. You always pick a hole, just like when you're trying to draw someone offside. You don't just yell, hut as loud as you can. You pick one of those defensive tackles, and you're picking which one you want to try to draw offside. Well, look what you get. You get a great wedge here. A 72 gets on this hat. His hat is on the left side. My hat, that's the helmet. It's on the left side of the helmet. You get a great drive block here. Okay, he's here. I mean, that's easy pickings. Easy pickings, good drive. So I think it's important to know that, quarterback sneak can be a great play. What I can't stand is anything in 1 yard shotgun. We do it. Lots of teams do it. High school teams do it. I just think you're risking the snap, number one, and you're risking going back 5 yards. Shoot, just run the quarterback sneak. Safest play, man. It's the safest play around. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that. All right, let's talk about a couple other things, and then we'll wrap up. I'm going to keep it tight today. So I appreciate those of you who are joining me with the late start, but when we get rolling on Tuesday, this is going to be a lot of fun, I think, for a lot of people. So I will tighten the video up over the next 24 hours to shorten this specific one. So even after tomorrow's game, you'll be able to pick some things up. All right, so let's do this one. Now, I got to talk about DK's play here, the penalty, which was on the block in the back. Okay, so yes, he had holding. Those were obvious. You see him out there. Hey, look, you're taught as a receiver, just so you know, if you're ever watching, like what is the receiver supposed to do? Well, he's out there blocking. Okay, whether he's grabbing or not, it doesn't matter that he's grabbing. If the ref sees their hand, the wide receiver's hand on the outside of the shoulder, that flag is coming out. This has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with this. That's holding. So what do you teach receivers to do? You teach a receiver, if the DB's off the line, you run out as hard as you can, and then you sit in a chair like you're playing basketball, and you go lateral. Basically, you're playing defensive shuffle. You rarely teach a wide receiver, even at the NFL level, to go after the DB and get that DB to go to the outside or get that DB to go to the inside. No, your running back is going to read your back and read your hat, and whichever way you block, he's going to cut back or he's going to go to the outside. So you're teaching a receiver to get out till that DB starts to settle. When that DB starts to settle and come back at you because he sees that it's a run, settle your feet, start going side to side. Whichever direction the DB goes is wrong. I must have said that a million times to wide receivers, but I was very lucky to have some phenomenal wide receivers that knew how to block. It worked really hard at it, and they understood that concept. That otherwise you get the Olay block, like the old guy with the bull, right? Comes the DB and Olay, I missed it. No, go out there, settle your feet, and that's why NFL receivers are NFL receivers, because they're good at blocking. You have to be, because 80% of the time you are blocking, so you got to get used to it. But you also are trying to keep your hands inside. And the issue that I see with a lot of guys, and I was very lucky. It's the 30-second story. I had a guy by the name of Sean Watson, who was my offensive coordinator and wide receiver coach when I went to play college football at Miami of Ohio. I ended up getting hurt early in the career, came back, but stayed in contact with Shane. He ended up becoming an offensive coordinator at University of Texas, University of Georgia, just some of the big-time schools. But I got him early in his career. He was phenomenal at teaching the blocking concepts. And what he always taught was blocks, punch, strike, punch. So I started teaching that all the way through. And next thing I know, I'm going to NFL practices, and that's what they're teaching as well. So it's pretty neat to see. And basically what that is, you're just trying to basically punch guys with your open fist in their chest, in their numbers. Keep your hands in on their numbers. Well, if you don't do that, you're going to get called for holding. You should never end up holding. But what do you get here? This is after DK's got his penalty, has had his penalty take place. Is an unsportsmanlike penalty, which I'm not going to get into right now. But here's the problem. Let me just show you the play first. So here's a running play that was obviously going to be a fly motion, jet motion. The NFL terminology for this has been jet motion of late, the last handful of years. Let me get it forward. So when you see a player going behind the line of scrimmage and it looks like they're potentially going to hand the football off to him, so the snap takes place before he crosses the quarterback, that's a jet sweep. But originally it was called fly sweep, and the fly sweep was invented created by Mark Speckman back in the early 90s. Mark Speckman was a phenomenal high school coach. The guy has no arms. He was a veteran. His arms got blown off, so he actually coaches with basically nubs at the end of his elbows. He puts his pen, whatever he'd write on the whiteboard with, between the elbows, and he makes the most perfect X's and O's you'd ever see. Funniest dude ever. But he invented the fly offense. Fly offense was then picked up by Steve Spurrier when he was at University of Florida. Steve Spurrier brings it into the NFL when he goes coaches in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, you start seeing it filter through. Everybody who thought, that's not going to work, fly offense, hey, let's just change the name to jet offense, given that there hasn't been an original idea in football in 100 years. You just change a word, change a name, and now all of a sudden it's something new and inventive. So there's a little key terminology for you, that jet sweep. But you'll even hear on the TV broadcast during the preseason, Dave Wyman, he wouldn't call it jets. All he'd call it is fly sweep. Here's a fly sweep. Here's a fly sweep. And I'd be watching. Someone would be, what's fly sweep? That's jet. That's a jet. Well, if you know your history, that's a fly sweep. So there you go, 12. That's football 501 for you right there. Here's the problem on this play, though. When it comes to we get the pitch that Russ trips up. He still gets a pitch off because he's just a heck of an athlete. You get a really nice pull out by a reach block by the tackle. So this left tackle, as you can see from behind, notice the splits, right? Tight splits, about 2 foot, 1 foot, 2 foot. It's like really tight in here. But this left tackle, he is split out wider. So he knows, because he wants to be able to release to the outside. Now, problem is, for a lineman, you always, 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 this is for every position. Like, in fact, if I put it in the chat, before I even say it, I'll say something else first about this. In the chat, anybody watching, what should an offensive lineman always do? What should be their first move with their foot? How should it move? Where should it move? I'll see who's the first one in the chat if somebody puts that in there. So that said, let me talk about these receivers out here. DK's already been upset. He's already had a holding penalty. Now they're running a play where it's the fake jet sweep, pitch to the outside. You're trying to get these guys to flow. Okay, obviously these receivers are blocking down. You have cave down, tackle, pull around. One receiver has his legs proper. One receiver doesn't, because one receiver is upset. And this is the part of the game that obviously Pete Carroll's going to work with Adam. And this is why I want Pete Carroll to be our head coach, because he's all about leadership and working with the mentality. Man, some dudes would get in DK's ear, rip him a new one, and you might not get DK the rest of the year mentality-wise. DK's going to be fine. DK was fine, 2 days later, guarantee you. But he's in the improper stance here. His inside leg should be back, because you need to step laterally inside. So what you'll see here is inside receiver immediately goes lateral. Notice his feet. And even he could have just stepped, if he would just put a little body weight, instead of dropping like that, he could have pushed hard off his left foot and got this a little bit better. And if he's not going to get this block, which he's able to get, he could just go to the next level. But he does a good job there. You want to get your hat on this side of it. But watch DK. What you get out of DK is wrong foot, meaning he has to take a hard, long lateral step, and now he's behind it. He's too late. To where if he'd just taken that lateral step right off the bat, he gets the block. Because he doesn't do that. Nick LeBeau, you're close. Keeping your feet squared is close. The answer is the lineman must always step with the foot that is the direction the play is going, and it's usually a power step, they call it, because it's shorter than their normal steps. You want linemen to take 6-inch power steps is what they call it. So DK should have his inside leg back, just like this receiver, so that way you just right leg cave down, and this left tackle, his first step right now should be left foot go, but instead his left foot goes backwards. And this is all timing stuff. So you got a receiver with his foot wrong, tackle doesn't take the proper step, and you end up with a collision. With two guys who run into each other. And that's just not good, man. That's just not good. right? It's just not good. So what does that allow? It allows this guy to bubble Carson backwards. But now we don't get the greatest block, but it's still a very solid block as he gets out there. But man, maybe he doesn't have to worry about it. He can turn up and get that guy, because you want your running backs going against the DB. You don't want to necessarily have your offensive lineman going out there and blocking, the left corner or the right corner. You want this guy to loop around and go after a bigger guy, a safety or a backer right here. If he doesn't get hooked, he gets there. Let Carson take care of that guy and get this down here. So not too bad. All right. Here we go. Let's wind up. I'm not going to cover the PAT. We knew that he missed the PAT. All I want you to know is that he took a PAT kick from the left hash earlier in the game, then a PAT kick from the right hash earlier in the game. And as Nick LeBeau from Seattle Sports talked about the other night, he always drills it right down the middle, no matter what hash. He does a great job. And on his PAT that he missed, actually, I do have to pull it up, the one real quick. Sideline PAT. Here we go. Just so you can see the piece right here. Now, I know the doink hurts, so I'm not even going to show the doink. What I do want to show, though, is you teach anybody who's kicking that the whole key to it is just like a quarterback, your plant foot is going to go where the football goes. So I was stunned when I saw the end zone angle to see that his foot pointed at the angle that it usually does. He gets a fantastic hold, because you can see by the laces are front. The football's at the angle that you want it at. It's never straight up. Kickers usually always like it angled in towards the holder. So it's angled properly. The laces are forward. The foot is proper. All that I noticed, and that I've had a few people now notice with me, is watch the football. I'll play it twice. Watch the football in flight at the initial part of the flight, how it kind of does a little right rudder move. Here it is, full speed. Kicked. It just took a little right rudder move midway through the kick, right after it leaves, right there. It went right, and then it turned straight again. Kind of JFK bullet theory, little left, then right, then left. All right, last play for now, and then I may come back tonight and finish off the last few that I have, because I have some important stuff I have to get to. So this one I'm going to cover is this one right here. Some positive stuff, because there's obviously some other things. Actually, this is one that needs to be covered on from the negative standpoint. All right, so this is the kickoff. Kickoff after an early than half touchdown. Good play. I'm just going to let it play through. Kickoff to the 12. Ideally, you want to keep them inside the 25-yard line, just like a touchback. Okay, now they get the ball at the 31-yard line, and not so bad. But the thing is, special teams, you treat it like offense and defense. So what you usually want to do is add or subtract 10 yards like a first down. So if the 25-yard line is the kind of the anchoring point, well, if you got them inside the 15-yard line, that's a first down you give to the defense, first down credit. If they get out to the 35, then that's a first down that the defense has to add to the negative side, like you add to Tennessee's offense. So here you get the kickoff. This is a point that we have got to fix, because I've seen it multiple times. The only people I'm talking about 3 different people. Okay, first off, the number 1. So on kickoff team, you always count outside in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you got L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, and the kicker kick in this direction. R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, kicker kick in this direction. Everybody else is doing an umbrella. It's an umbrella concept. So the umbrella concept is you got the return guy. He's the end of the handle of the umbrella. He's coming up through there. The umbrella is going to close down on it. Contain guy has 2 jobs. Keep it inside and in front of you. Inside and in front of you. And then teams either have one guy as a safety, which is the kicker, or they'll have another guy, which is typically L2 or R2, but most teams use L2. You're going to, if you want that second safety back there. But everybody stays within 3 to 4 yards of each other. Then they close down, settle your feet, make a good solid tackle. Well, what I want you to see is how R1 on the outside completely blows it. Okay. As we're coming down the field, okay, we got great job by L1, obviously inside in front of him. You can see the umbrella's closing. It's never going to be a perfect arc, but that's a pretty nice umbrella. But now, right here, as this guy's going back, look at our R1. He has got his contain inside and in front of him. Inside and in front, inside and in front, inside and in front. No longer inside, no longer in front of him. He just blew his contain. And man, oh man, look at this guy right here. He's walled off. He's walled off. Now, we have a heck of a kicker that knows how to make tackles, but you don't want to count on your kicker making tackles. The only saving grace is similar to what I talked about earlier. I don't have this up there. Let me play it, take it back a little bit. Similar to what I talked about earlier. Here's R1 has it over here. Here's L1 doing his job fine. Here's the umbrella. R1 inside and in front, inside and in front, inside and in front. No longer inside and in front. Walled off, walled off. This guy potentially goes to the house. He's going to go around here, make a cutback, go down the sideline. Ideally, our kicker makes tackle. But for the fact we have one player who understands the concept, like really understood the concept. They all do, but he played it the way you're supposed to. First off, his hands are extended when he's getting blocked, which is great. You want guys to extend their arms anytime you're getting blocked. Extend your arms. Never let yourself get alligator armed in here, because then a guy can throw you. Extend the arms. Read what's going on. Okay, you have to replace the contain guy. Contain guy gets beat. Okay, as the contain guy gets beat, right there, someone must replace the contain guy. And that's exactly what he does. Okay? The guy who started off as, you can't see him back here, he basically started off right here as R3. He ends up coming all the way down the field. Okay, and because there's the number 2 is the safety back here. There is 3 and 4 are getting right here. And now all of a sudden, he goes to the out. Okay, there's our captain, 44. There's 3 right there, head moving to the outside. His job now becomes contain. It's not necessarily to make the tackle. It's like playing right corner back on defense, because this is a defensive special team. Look what he does. Great job of becoming the contain guy. He forces the return man to cut it back inside, where now you got a whole wave of players. You got Phil and backside leverage guys. It's like playing secondary. It's the corner, the safety. Here come the linebackers. Here's the pursuit over the top. That's how you coach it up. But man, oh man, we gotta shore that thing up, right? We gotta shore that thing up. So with that, I'm gonna leave it on that one, even though I've got 4 more plays I want to cover, but I will come back later this evening and I will put those back on so I can keep this a little bit more condensed, and we'll get some other people, and we'll have seen some more college football Saturday and those things. So I appreciate those of you who jumped on with me today. I'm sorry that we bounced on a little bit late, but it was fun, and we're going to continue to do this. And I'm just going to be popping on from time to time, doing a lot of stuff. So I appreciate those of you that came on. As the show goes on, I will continue to add people into the comment section. I know a lot of people were commenting today. Tyler Parcher, appreciate you being on. Nick, man, look at Brandon Rogers came on. I love it, man. Seeing Brandon coming on. Got my guy Steezy doing his thing. Look at, there he is. Steezy plays for the NFL Game Pass. You bet, my friend. We can talk offline about it, no doubt. So just appreciate all you guys coming on. So with that, as I said, I want to be the coach of the 12s, the guy that you look for and look to when you have questions. So shoot me comments. Go to my website. You can send me email at coachforlife100 coachforlife100@gmail.com. And then I'll be jumping onto some of the social media sites as well. All right. Until I see you later this evening, go Hawks.